Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regularly scheduled council meeting of September 25th, 2018. If you'd please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Buck.
Mayor Ziegler.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Beagle.
Here.
Councilmember Gatchell.
Here.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Here.
Councilmember Leader is excused this evening. Councilmember Resnick.
Here.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Any changes to the agenda, additions to the agenda?
No, Mayor, have none.
Okay, anybody up here have anything to add? Okay, and we're set. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled council meeting of September 11th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Correspondence, there is none this evening. First call to the public is the next thing on the agenda, and I'll read the rules for public speaking. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing council. And all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to speak to the council at the first call to the public on any agenda items? Seeing no one jump up, I'll close the first call to the public. Next item on the agenda are the city manager's reports. The first item is the departmental monthly reports of August 2018. Anybody have any questions or comments? Mr. Beagle.
Thanks. I got a quick question for Tim. How many, can I get a total for the year, the DPW adopt the boxes from like this year and last year?
Totals?
Yes.
Yeah, I can get those for you.
Okay.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, I know you won't have them offhand, but if you can get them to me.
Yeah, we get on average 2 to 3 a weekend.
Yeah.
And every now and then, or as the fall or October progresses, we'll get them during the week as well. Yeah, I can get that for this year.
All right, thanks. Do you see any need to maybe get another one of those, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
we could
All right,
use.
let's get those numbers and we'll go from there.
Sure,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, the next item under city manager's reports is the monthly budget report of May of 2018. Any discussion or questions of Maryland or anything else? Anyone else? Okay, very good reports. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless council members so request, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is passed. There is no unfinished business, which takes us to new business. First item under new business is consideration of the adoption of a resolution authorizing the implementation of recommendations necessary to receive a redevelopment ready community certification from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, MEDC. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. I know we have some guests here this evening from the MEDC who have a presentation to give us.
My name is Elizabeth King. I'm your Redevelopment Ready Communities Planner, which I'll be referring to as RRC for the rest of this evening. And this is Dominic Romano, our Community Assistance Team Specialist for the area. So right now I'm going to give you an overview of the Rrc program. I'm going to quickly go over a baseline evaluation we performed on your development-related processes. And I'm going to go over the steps that Wixom can take to bring itself into alignment with the Redevelopment Ready Communities program. So the Redevelopment Ready Communities program is housed in the Community Development Division, which is one of the 3 main divisions at the MEDC, the others being marketing and promotion. Everyone is familiar with our Pure Michigan campaign, and business development, which you might also be familiar with. The Business Development Division is primarily focused on attracting large employers and businesses from across the country to the communities, while community development is really focused on creating a sense of place with the knowledge that that is also what is needed to attract businesses and talent from around the country. We do this through the Rrc program by offering communities technical assistance. So we really empower your community with the tools that are needed to improve plans, streamline processes, and update policies so they're consistent with Rrc best practices and conducive to creating places where people want to live. The image on the screen represents the business talent place connection. So talent wants place, place needs business, and business needs talent. Well, nowadays, more so than ever, people are choosing where they want to live first and finding jobs second. So they're moving to places that offer them a high quality of life. I'd like to quickly talk about the Rrc program's 8 guiding principles. So like I said, the Rrc program is a self-help program. We're not going to complete the tasks for you, but we are going to empower your community with the skills and tools necessary to attract investment. We also really believe in transparency so that when processes are clear, efficient, and consistent, developers and community members will know how to get through the process, through the development process easily, and there won't be any surprises. We also really believe in the importance of partnership, and we look at this baseline report as the beginnings of a strong working relationship for years to come. So this image on the screen just shows the certification process. Step 1 is engagement. Wixom became engaged back in December 2017. Step 2 is evaluation. You've already progressed to the bottom of step 2, and from here, we're asking you to pass the resolution to continue with the program, which it sounds like you've already done, so we're good to go there. And step 3 is certification. So from here on out, we'll ask that your community works on completing the missing best practices until they're all done and you can be certified. We're working with over 250 communities across the state of Michigan, and this map is a little out of date, but I think we have about 26 or 27 certified communities now. So getting to the meat of the Rrc program. It's made up of 6 best practices. The first one focuses on your essential planning documents, your master plan, downtown plan, capital improvements plan, and your public participation plans, all the way to best practice 6, which really looks at the community's marketing and economic development strategies. Here you'll see Wixom's evaluation snapshot. So to make sense of this, you'll need to know that the 6 best practices are made up of 41 objective and measurable criteria. Right now, Wixom has completed 50% of the Rrc criteria and is in the process of completing another 50%. This is a really excellent score. And so the greens mean you've done it, the yellows mean it's in progress, and you don't have any reds, which really speaks to the high quality of your plans and the work your staff, boards, and commissions do. So now let's talk about what the city is already meeting. You're already meeting our best practice for a capital improvements plan. Your plan ranges from 2017 to 2027 and focuses on improvements that are mentioned in your other planning documents. You have a really strong zoning ordinance that allows for a variety of housing options, has non-motorized transportation standards, you have flexible parking standards in there, you have some green infrastructure standards, and you have some really nice form-based standards and images that can really help developers get the picture of what you're looking for. You also have a really good site plan review process. Everything's clearly defined in your ordinance. You have qualified intake professionals. Your departments are doing a really good job with joint site plan review. Your internal review standards are clear, and your projects are tracked from submission to completion. Now I'm going to discuss some things that you'll need to do to meet all the best practices, so the work. I know you're already doing these first 3 items, so your new master plan is already in progress. You just have a couple more things to do to have that complete. Your DDA plan, I know it needs to be looked at to see, kind of refreshed, to see what still is viable to be done and what projects can still be completed. You have a draft of a public participation plan in the works, so that'll just need to be refined and approved. And there need to be some updates to the already good development review policies, procedures, and guides. So we're just looking for you guys to advertise your pre-application meetings so that out-of-towners who are interested in Wixom know that your city is open to meeting with them. We are interested in continuous improvement, so creating a development-focused customer feedback mechanism and then using that mechanism to meet and adjust the site plan review process accordingly. And then what is really valuable about this program is it's a third-party review. So I noticed some inconsistencies between your really excellent development review manual and the ordinance and the flow charts. So you just kind of need to make everything consistent and have timelines so people know what to expect. Another area that the city's making good, other areas where the city's making good progress in is on recruitment, education and training, redevelopment ready sites, and your economic development strategy. There's just a couple more things that need to be done. They should be pretty easy, just updating board descriptions to include a desired skill set. That could be as easy as saying, if you have building skills, we're interested in having you on this board. You would be a good fit for the board of review. Creating mechanisms to track training and attendance so you get the most value out of your training dollars, and then developing a forum to share the information gathered at training. We also require communities to have what we call redevelopment ready sites and have a vision for those sites that is publicly supported, and then create a whole property information package with that vision and market it on the website. The last little piece is just some updates to your economic development strategy, so creating an implementation matrix for some outstanding items and making it available online. So what are the next steps? We've already done the resolution, so you're ahead of the game. Next, your staff and partners will work on completing the best practice criteria at their own pace. So we're not rushing you to do this. It's at whatever pace the community is comfortable with. Quarterly, I'll send out progress reports and just ask for updates from the staff. And then eventually, once all the missing best practice criteria are completed, you'll be redevelopment ready certified. This image just kind of shows your potential partners that you could be working with. You know, it's not a one-person burden to carry. Completing these best practices should really be done in partnership with other stakeholders in the community. So I'd like to circle back to the value. The third-party review really helps catch any inconsistencies. the RRC certification is a signal that your community is open for business. We offer technical assistance matching funds to help your community complete the missing best practices. And then we offer continued technical assistance once you're certified. You're also eligible for community development funding consideration, and you always have our ear. If you're interested in learning more about the program, resources can be found at myplace.org, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody?
Yeah?
General time frame then for certification?
It just depends on what's up to you. I've had communities complete it in as fast as 4 months, but it can take as long as you want it to take, although I would prefer it did not.
4 6 months?
A year could be aggressive. The community of Oak Park just did it in slightly under a year. So you're at a really good position with 50%. So a year is realistic.
What, in terms of other than having the certification shown on our website, what are some of the other things that the state does in conjunction with the redevelopment ready communities?
Sure. So we're really focused on marketing these redevelopment ready sites. So we are doing developer matchmaking events, bringing people to your town, pushing out your sites to the greater developer world, and then the eligibility for community assistance funds, and that sort of thing.
Anybody else? Remind us, and I know we've been through this before, but remind us, if you would, what are some of the other communities besides Royal Oak that have the certification already?
Actually, Royal Oak is not participating in the program. Oak Park.
I'm sorry, Oak Park.
Oak Park certified, Ferndale certified, Lathrop Village is certified, Ferndale. Those are the ones in my area that are certified that I can speak on confidently. Lansing, up north, and there are more, I believe. Roseville certified. So there are a few others.
Didn't you have a chart of that?
Yes, but it just has fun little stars, so they're not. Oh, they are listed. There you go. Dearborn, Roseville, Southfield, East Point, in this area, and we'll have more on the way.
Okay, this discussion and presentation reminds me a lot of this morning's meeting with the DDA. I mean, there's a lot of interaction that could take place. I'm sorry that I didn't think of it. Perhaps it would be helpful if we had people from the DDA that might want to show up for a meeting like this. I'm sure that at least Melanie's probably aware of this program, being the president of the DDA, but or the chairman of that board. But I'm, again, it just seems like we were talking this morning that a lot of times, this group is talking about something, and somebody over here is doing the same thing, and they don't even know that's going on. And I know that Debbie probably keeps them advised because of her activity in both. But I never heard any of them talking about this particular certification, so it's kind of an interesting thing that we might want to make sure that might be helpful if some of those people started coming to meetings and participating in some of this stuff. But maybe I'm misstating it, maybe they are, but in any event, appreciate your presentation this evening. Is there anything else? Steve, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or?
No, just real quickly, I'll make a quick comment, just that I'm pleased to see that Ms. King's recognized that we do have pretty good progress towards a lot of these things. That was my impression coming in, that we were going to do pretty well on that map, if you will. And pleased that we're a long ways towards achieving the certification. Looking forward to working with the MEDC to finish the process and get a few other things accomplished so that we can achieve that and have that in our quiver, if you will, for making ourselves more attractive to development, which is something that's important, I know, to this council and to administration certainly too. So looking forward to being part of it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do, I guess, my comments might have sounded a little negative, but I appreciate the fact, and I think it's the fact that we get those types of reports all the time. Whenever we enter into something, I think, we end up to be on the cutting edge, if you will. I think that our staff is among the best in the state, and your report certainly confirms that for us. I really appreciate all the effort that the staff's done to get us where we are on this, and look forward to continuing it. If nobody else has anything, we have a motion for the adoption of a resolution authorizing the implementation of recommendation necessary to receive redevelopment ready community certification from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you like, but you don't have to. We'll understand if you decide to.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the adoption of a resolution designated Stephen Brown and Simsek as agents of the city of Wixom and granting them authorization to sign Michigan Department of Transportation permit applications. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Council. This is a simple resolution for working within the road right-of-way of I-96. We do anticipate some work this year with the I-96 cross of the water main that we are planning. This will be it's a separate event, but it's similar to the types of work that we may be doing over the next year there. So it behooves us right now to just get that application in, and so that Mr. Brown and myself are part of the accepted folks to apply for those right-of-way permits electronically.
Anybody? Mr. Resnick.
So the permit itself has to be renewed annually then, first of the year?
This is, yeah, it's an annual permit, but typically we really forego it most years because we don't anticipate a whole lot of work, and we could have probably done so this year too, because the I-96 crossing for the water main is a separate permit that takes a little bit more than just an electronic application, but it never hurts to get this in.
So do we have to do a separate resolution then in January as well for our?
If we want to apply electronically, yes.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? I have a motion and a second to adopt a resolution designated Stephen Brown and Simsek as agents of the city of Wixom and granting them authorization to sign Michigan Department of Transportation permit applications. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the adoption of a resolution to adopt the updated Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan and its recommendations as the foundation for the mitigation of natural, technological, and human hazards that occur in the city of Wixom. That's a mouthful. Hello.
So moved.
Support.
Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Every 4 years, Oakland County, under the leadership of the Executive Office, Alfred Patterson's office, and the Homeland Security Division for Oakland County, they update their emergency operations plan. And the city of Wixom, we update ours every 4 years as well, and we adopt their emergency operations plan as well as create a support plan that is more localized. It deals with our local issues in the event of a disaster or some sort of widespread emergency. Under that county emergency operations plan, they have a section called Threat and Hazard Analysis. And under that threat and hazard analysis, they have created what's called the Hazard Mitigation Plan. And that also is updated every 4 years. Early last year, so early 2017, Mr. Brown and I, as well as the fire chief, received word that they were going to begin the process of updating the Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan. So several of us have made many trips to the county, to the Homeland Security Division, as well as watched several webinars, and the City of Wixom staff has participated in the conversations to update that plan. Most recently, the county sent communications to Mr. Brown as the Emergency Management Coordinator, as well as Mr. Sigma, myself, and Fire Chief Roberts, asking us to update what our local hazards would be and to see what updates needed to be added to the plan since it was done 4 years prior. The four of us participated in that process, and they have now created, with the public's input, with the local community's input, they've now created an 800-page document. 300 pages of that is available online, and it's what's called the Basic Hazard Mitigation Plan. The remaining 500 pages deals with the individual communities, every community in Oakland County. It deals with their individual hazards, as well as all the school districts. The remaining 500 pages is not available to the public. That's kept in confidentiality because it does address specific threats to the community. So as a result of the planning, the County Homeland Security Division is very confident that this is a good plan that will pass muster with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and it's my recommendation that the city adopt the Oakland County plan.
Any discussion, points to be made? I think you convinced us.
Excellent.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation to utilize a bid process from Macomb County, Michigan, and authorize the purchase of 3 2019 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles for $84,069 from Signature Ford of Owasso, Michigan. Do I have a motion?
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and support. Discussion. Anybody have any questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, and Tom's got one also. I was just looking at the bidding unit, and it just looks like it's $1,000 cheaper or $500 cheaper to go with Gorno Ford. Why aren't we doing that?
When we reached out to Gorno Ford, the representative from Gorno wanted me to commit the city on the spot to their bid process. I told my assistant, without council approval, I can't commit the city on the spot to their process. She inquired as to whether or not the bid price would still be available on September 26th, the day after this council meeting, and he told us, absolutely not, you'll have to pay retail.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm good.
Mr. Beagle.
And just for the record on that, it's only $384 difference in the 3 cars. It's not a big, something that we should really look into, but, I asked the same question to Ron last week when I talked to him about this, so, yeah, I can support this.
Tom, did you have?
Just a comment for the record that during the budget session, this was debated for quite some hours, and we did make some decisions for future years, doing a 2-vehicle replacement versus the 3. So for future years, future budget years, it'll be 2. So.
And I heard you all loud and clear, and the next time I request a car, there will be a request for 2. Absolutely.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation to approve utilizing Merge Live of Walled Lake, Michigan to video record all regularly scheduled city council meetings at a cost of $200 per meeting for a total cost not to exceed $4,800 for fiscal year 2018-2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, discussion. Do you have anything you want to?
Just real quick, we went through a process of looking at options for this, including expanding our relationship with Walled Lake Community School District, purchasing our own equipment and operating that equipment, and then also a third-party provider of video recording services. We decided to do a sort of a beta test, if you will, of that option, and had Merge Live come in and do 2 months worth of meetings with us to see how we like their work product. It turns out that we like their work product very much. And we are interested in recommending that we proceed with a full year's worth of activity. The report details the fact that we basically spent about $1,000 with our interim review of how things would work out with them. So beyond the bills that we've incurred already, we'll actually end up with an additional expense of $3,800, but we've reflected the full amount for the full year here just to keep things tidy. So it's our recommendation from administration to proceed with doing business with Merge Live on this. It'll allow us to video record every meeting, unlike the relationship with the schools, because there would be periods of time when kids would not be available in the summertime, and at a reasonable cost, and allow us to have a consistent professional work product, consistent professional recording of each and every council meeting on the internet for people to view. So that's the recommendation from administration.
Mr. Beagle?
Thanks. And you know, if we wanted to continue our association with Walled Lake School District, one thing that we could also do is we could, for lack of a better term, do like a infomercial where we go into each of our departments, and for the building department, let the residents know what they need to, you know, for building permits and things like that. Our Parks and Rec department, and we could put that either on our website and throw it in somehow on our YouTube channel. So if we want to do something like that, we could still do that. It might be helpful for residents too.
And I mentioned that to Ms. Evola, the contact from the school system for that service, and we talked about that very thing. We would still like to maintain a relationship with the school system, still like to offer some opportunity for the students that are involved with their programs to come out and do some work with us and have some hands-on experience with us and allow us to take advantage of their services as well. We did specifically talk about that kind of an arrangement.
Very good, thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you. Mr. Brown, will this be coming out of the PEG fees?
It's coming out of that broadcasting televising account which was set up. Certainly that's basically a source of funding for that, but we set up a separate line item in the IT
Is that
account.
a part of the PEG fees? That's what
It will be, yes.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
The rest of it, that's okay.
Yeah. Just telling you where it's coming from, the IT account, but the funding is going to be pulled from the PEG fees.
We set this up at the budget meetings, didn't we? Didn't we put money aside to do it? I
Yes.
don't remember any discussion of the PEG fees, but I know that we set up an amount of money in the budget hearings.
Yeah, that's the new wrinkle that's in your in the report here. There was a request of Councilman Resnick that has been discussed in the past here. So we were looking to include the actual line item that's being budgeted, description of it, the adopted budget that was set up at the beginning of the year. You'll note there's $5,000 there. We're projecting a total cost of $4,800, and whether we need an amendment, no, because that will be adequate to cover those expenses. So that's something we're going to try to apply to each report that involves expenditures of funds.
Mr. Smiley?
Thank you. I'm not saying we need to do this. I think it's more of the next logical step, perhaps not. But is there an additional expense if we have a live broadcast of the meeting?
No, there is no added cost for that particular service. That's at our discretion. So if that's something
So
that the council...
won't be a budget issue?
Correct. Will not add cost whatsoever. It actually might make our administrative assistant's life a little bit easier, Cheryl Lucas, if we were to do that. But as selfless as she is, she's not taking a position on that. But in point of fact, it'll actually make things a little bit easier for staff if that's done. But that's neither here nor there. Either way, whatever council's preference is. Right now, we're just having the video recording performed. If we want to shift to a live broadcast, we just instruct them to make it a live broadcast.
I got it. What makes it? What would make it easier if we were live? What's the difference?
Cheryl, you want to?
Uploading it.
We'll have Cheryl address it at the podium.
Thank you, Sharon.
She wasn't ready for this, so I'm just testing her out here, see how she does.
The fact that I have to upload it on YouTube and then put it on the website as an item under new business or under news items, which I'll show you right here, under latest news.
I got you. Oh, so if we do it live, then it won't be a archived file that can be watched later?
Still would be.
It still would be there. It's just that Ken would be doing it while he's videotaping. He would be putting it on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
It, if I may, it reduces the handling. So as it goes right now, I have to take a recording and then I ship it off to Cheryl, and then Cheryl has to download it and then ship it up to YouTube. If we go live, it's one stop. It goes right from here to YouTube, and then it's able to be seen at that point and then at a later time.
So it'll be easier for you too then?
It's easier for me a little bit.
Oh. How do we have to do it right now, but I mean, how do we take that step, I guess, to make everybody's life easier?
You just tell
Just
them.
tell
to do it.
Ken.
Yeah, if we get enough
Well, I
people.
can't just tell, we have to tell.
Well, take a
together.
suggestion. And I don't think it's something you have to vote on. I think it's something that.
I can take direction at this meeting,
That's
sure.
what we should do, then they just do it. And it's not like you have to make a motion. If you think it's a
All right,
good
well,
idea, obviously you do.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Everybody else think it's a good idea?
I just thought,
Everybody thinks it's a good idea? Oh, there you go.
We have our direction, sir.
all right,
There you go.
we're live next meeting, take care of it.
There is a little bit of testing that has to be done first. So I just want to
Whenever
confirm.
you're ready.
It'll be soon.
Cheryl let us know.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just add that, isn't there a way, though, to do the direct upload to YouTube and keep it private until it gets released to the public domain?
Absolutely. There's just a checkbox.
Yeah, checkbox.
That says, okay, this video should remain private until it's unchecked.
Yeah, so why don't we just do that anyway and get it up, streamed into YouTube during the live performance?
Live performance?
We just had, we had not gone through the discussion of whether to go live at all, so I think it was just that was the way to
And you
handle
can
it.
always keep it, you can keep it private forever if you wanted to, so that's what I'm saying. The technology is there to keep it from being posted until you're ready or
Right.
whatever, so, okay. Second question is, in building on Deputy Mayor Beagle's comments about the Walled Lake School District, does Merge Live actually employ the use of interns and, through the technical school? And perhaps there's a way as well for students to still stay involved
Right.
as interns through Merge Live. I don't know.
We defer to Mr. Miller on that.
Yeah, we have done work with interns in the past, not from the Walled Lake School District. I did have a brief conversation with the lady, her name escapes me right now, but we did talk about the possibility of having some interns support us in different events.
Yeah, that might be something.
Maybe Julia
we'll look
Bola.
into. Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that, I think as everybody knows that I was really not totally in favor of going this route. For years and years, we've discussed it. My preference would be to continue to monitor it to see what the feedback is. And I don't know how we do that, not being a computer person, but I assume that there's a way that you can monitor how many hits you get or how many people are watching this. And if we could get some kind of feedback on that, and I don't want to put a lot of work on any staff because I know you're already overworked as it is, but it would be helpful, I think, for the next year, like when we're deciding whether or not to keep this program in place, if we had some information that would be helpful to make the decision on whether to continue it. So is that something we can do?
Yeah, I believe there's analytics available as far as the number of views, videos and everything that's
Yeah.
online, so we can take a look at it and see what the activity is like.
I was going to say, there's two things there. So one is, when you go to your YouTube channel, and we've all been on YouTube, you can see that there are a number of views. And when you go to your YouTube channel today, you can see the number of views for the videos that have taken place so far. And you can actually see that there's been kind of a steady increase. And what we've seen in all the communities that we do, they've all increased. We've never had a community drop down in viewership. They've all increased substantially.
With the
Within
live
about a year-
broadcast.
What happens is there's kind of a learning curve where people have to find out about it, and then once they find out about it, then they're more engaged, and then they watch. And you can see the views go up quite considerably over time.
Well, that would certainly be helpful for us in the budget meetings that we could justify keeping the program going. So that'd be helpful.
So you'll be able to actually see it yourselves as soon as you go to the YouTube channel. You'll see all the videos, and then you'll see how many views each video has had. And you can gauge from there if you're...
Well, we wouldn't be going to it because we're here already. I mean, my concern too has been that, the people won't show up at the meetings, except for the students. I made a mention of it last week, and my concern was that I hadn't seen Vance McCormick in a long time. And now he's back, so my concerns are allayed. So.
And if I can speak to that, actually what we've seen...
Well, Vance? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, what we've seen with the addition of a YouTube channel or any kind of recorded event being put online, it actually increases engagement in the community. And the citizens overwhelmingly have been very responsive, very positive in the stuff that they've seen in all the communities that we do. So we actually see more community engagement than before the community started to do something like that.
Great. Yes, Miss.
Hi, good evening. I'm not actually a resident here in Wixom. I'm here for a school project. But I just wanted to second what what Ken was saying. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I worked as a public affairs specialist. And one of the things that we utilized a lot was our social media. And part of that was live streaming different big events. Video engagement. Always, we found that the analytics for videos and multimedia products was a lot higher than news articles or things that were kind of shown in the past. And I think that, to your point, you were saying that people want to see it, right? And there's more community members that either can't get here. Let's say there's, for disability reasons, they can't just get in a car or drive, or they're parents and they have children at home and don't have anyone to watch them. So I think that it's just a really good opportunity as an outsider and coming back to Michigan for us to kind of move into 2018 and 2019, because that's just how our communities communicate now. And the president himself communicates with the whole world via Twitter, and we see how popular and effective that is to getting out whatever his message is. And a lot of elected officials are beginning to do that and engage the public in a way that they can be engaged in the comfort of their own homes while still being active in their communities.
Well, thank you for your comments. Could you please state your name so that the clerk can attribute your comments to the person?
Sure, it's Fatuma Saad. I'll be here for the whole meeting if you need
Okay,
to
great.
after.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a consideration of the approval of the 2018-2019 Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation, SMART, contract in the amount of $13,262 to be funded through SMART with the local match funded through Oakland County Public Transportation Authority, and authorization for the mayor to sign the contract on behalf of the city. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support? Discussion. This is kind of a redo of something we do all the time.
Maybe just one question on usage. How's the utilization now of the seniors for the transportation program?
It's increased.
Increased quite a bit?
Yeah, we've come to a basic standard, but they are utilizing it. It tends to be approximately, usually the same people, a few more, but they are using it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Did you want to say anything, Deanna?
I'm good.
All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Thanks. Second item on the agenda, or next item on the agenda is the second call to the public. I've already indicated what the rules for public speaking are. So if anybody has anything on their mind they'd like to talk about this evening to the council that has some relevance to the city, please feel free to step forward and make your comments.
Good time for seniors to,
Pardon me?
for seniors, good time for seniors to speak.
For seniors?
Seniors.
You mean high school
High
seniors?
school seniors.
You're right. As a matter of fact, this is one of the favorite things that we do here. When we have students, and we're not trying to discourage you. I hope we're not discouraging people from attending these meetings, but we do like to give the students that come to fulfill their classroom obligations a chance to come up to be a part of the record. Because that's what you're here for, I assume. So, young man, would you like to come up and introduce yourself? And we're going to try to...
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Until the time before he gets up to the podium, I just wanted to congratulate Tim on his work as a straight man for you there.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Jesse Watts. I'm a senior at Lakeland High School. And while I have no major comments, I guess I may as well second the whole live streaming to YouTube thing, as from personal experience, it tends to bring a lot more engagement than simply like uploading things to YouTube. As especially in live streaming comment sections, you tend to notice that those are a lot more active than they are in just plain old uploading things. So I guess I may as well second that.
Great.
Jesse's address?
Did you need an address?
No,
Okay.
Lakeland High School.
We might have a couple of questions for you.
Don't walk away.
What are you studying?
Currently AP Government.
AP Government. Who are the two candidates running for the gubernatorial ticket here in November in the state of Michigan?
That will currently be Gretchen Whitmer and pretty sure Shooty.
Wow.
Bill Shooter.
We actually have somebody that answered it right in
There you go. Very good.
Well done.
Anybody else?
Yeah, you're good, yeah.
He's good.
Anybody else?
Oh, it's my...
Mr. Smiley has a question for you.
Just a couple of little things. First of all, you speak very well. I'm surprised you're kind of shy to come up here. You seem very comfortable up there now. Secondly, what are you looking to do next year when you're out of done with high school?
Hopefully getting into University of Michigan, Ann Arbor.
All right, go blue. And study more government type stuff?
Yeah,
or-
political sciences, international relations, things like that.
Very good, that's all.
Okay. Anybody else? I have a couple of questions.
Watch out for your head.
Well, the questions I have are, how many U.S. senators does the state of Michigan have, and name both of them?
Peters and Stabenow.
Great. That's fantastic.
He's on top.
Yeah, very good. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're U of M ready.
Setting the bar high from past experience, right?
We often get,
Thanks.
kids who aren't sure of those questions, so we're excited that you know.
Right.
Congratulations. Come back when and send other people. Ma'am, you have a...
Or at least watch the video.
I was just gonna,
Well, this isn't an open forum. Come on up and
All right.
come on up and introduce yourself and spell your name for the clerk so she's able to get that down right.
I don't know if anyone can see me all the way down here. It's F, I can speak loud enough. Oh,
There you go.
Okay, it's F-A-T-O-O-M-A, and last name is S-A-A-D.
Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. This young man was talking about the live stream, and you guys were grilling him with government questions, which I thought was super, super awesome, because you don't see this kind of civic engagement with the younger generation. And I think, to his point, the comment section is probably where you're going to find a lot of our generation. I mean, I'm on the older side of the millennials. He's probably just finishing us off. But I think that live streaming and taking it into the digital world, you're going to have a more informed community across all generations. And you're going to get the people that still want to come in here. They want to see your faces and hear the banter and hear you guys talk to each other and go through the motions. But you're also going to get people that just can't come or are a lot more comfortable getting their information from a digital source. And Wixom was one of the first places I worked. I used to work at the bank inside the Meyer way back in the day before I was in the Marine Corps. I always loved the community, and I would say this about any community that I've lived or worked in, that the more informed your population is, the stronger your community is, because we're only as smart as the least informed among us, right? So So I think that that was a very good measure to take, and I think that moving in that direction with other initiatives is only going to make the city of Wixom stronger.
And what community are you from?
I grew up in Dearborn. I live in Northville. My husband and I
Northville.
just moved
Okay.
back when he retired from the
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have a?
I just want to thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Dad, you want to come up?
No, sir, I'm
We'll,
good.
we'll make you do that.
See if it's an apple tree thing, see if he's familiar with
You know, when Tim said the seniors, I thought he was talking about me.
It wasn't an age comment.
You always take offense to anything about.
I know. All right, city manager's comments.
So I had some information in our city manager update here that I provided in terms of what's going on with projects and an update on the emergency repair bill that was a result of a little complication that arose out of our parking lot project. I want to highlight something in addition under the DPW that talks about a event that we're jointly hosting with Milford Village as well as Milford Township. On October 4th at 7 p.m. at the Milford Civic Center at 1100 Atlantic Street in Milford. There's a PFAS informational event to discuss something that's of interest to our residents, other people in the region here related to that particular class of contaminants and how that's something that we're unfortunately experiencing in the city of Wixom with an industrial user of our services in our wastewater treatment plant that in spite of their stopping use of a class of chemicals that was no longer allowed after 2015. We're still experiencing some wastewater discharge from their operation that has levels of those contaminants beyond the levels that are currently assigned as guidelines by the state and other services. So there's going to be an event on October 4th at 7 p.m. at the Milford Civic Center. We're going to have representatives of the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the Oakland County Health Department, Health Division, and the Huron River Watershed Council that will be there, as well as the three communities, to provide some information on generally the health of the Huron River watershed, not just the PFAS issue, but other issues as well that people are concerned with, algae blooms, and things of that nature. So if you're interested in obtaining some information on those subjects, we encourage you to come out on October 4th at 1100 Atlantic Street in Milford for that event. And on a related note, since there's lots of information that's been covered in the press related to that PFAS issue, I'd like to do a little coverage of it for a couple seconds here just to talk about things. As I mentioned, we do have an issue with our effluent, the discharge from our wastewater treatment plant also being beyond the recommended guidelines. That is not something that's coming about because of any activities at the city of Wixom. We don't utilize any chemicals in any of our processes that have those substances present. So the obvious spot to search for how that was occurring was to look at people that were industrial users in the community that might be a source of that kind of chemical usage. And we did identify a company in town, formerly Adept Tri-Bar Manufacturing, now they're known as, that does have an issue with their wastewater discharges coming to our plant. There's no treatment processes in place in Wixom or in the surrounding area for this class of substances. So when it entered our wastewater treatment plant, it was passed through our plant and ended up being discharged to the Huron River watershed as a result. MDEQ has contacted us about this. We've gone through sampling of our effluent. We've been working with MDEQ as well as the company Tri-Bar Manufacturing to address it at the source, which is what the prescription is for fixing these problems from the MDEQ. So we worked with Tri-Bar. I had a visit with Tri-Bar in the last couple of days where we went out to their plant to take a look at the situation and talk to them about the efforts that they're taking to address the situation. And as in conjunction with that, Tim Sikma, our DPW director, in conjunction with our wastewater treatment plant contractor, Suez, we issued an administrative compliance order to Tri-Bar to put them on notice about this problem formally and require them to take certain actions and by certain dates and time. And the dates that are in place are October 19th, in just about a month, where they're going to be required to do some work to evaluate how this is occurring, what's causing it to be present in their discharge to the wastewater treatment plant. They're going to be required to develop and implement strategies and plans for dealing with that and reducing the presence of those PFAS substances and eliminating them in the long run. So we do have that administrative control order, administrative compliance order that we just issued to Dry Bar. They're aware of it. They've represented they're taking this matter very seriously, and they're working with consultants and their own internal staff to determine the best approach to getting this under control and eliminating that contaminated discharge to our wastewater treatment plant. So that's the current status of where we're at. We'll have some additional information that will contain this. I've done a posting to the website already with some basic information about the situation. This new information about the administrative compliance order will be present tomorrow once we make that posting. I wanted to make a presentation on it tonight for your benefit and the people that would be watching the video's benefit. We will add that to the website tomorrow and have some additional information on there, but that's the current state of affairs. We are working with the company. We are working with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality to get this under control. We take the matter very seriously. Everybody wants to have quality bodies of water in our area for recreational purposes, as well as everything else that goes along with it, drinking water and everything else. So it's of the highest priority for us, something we take very seriously, and we are working aggressively to get this under control through Tri-Bar's efforts at controlling their own discharges to our plant.
And while it may be obvious to some, it might be worth mentioning that this doesn't have any impact on the drinking water.
That's correct. The city is on the Great Lakes Water Authority system. We're at the very western edge of that, but our discharge goes into the Huron River watershed, which is part of the Ann Arbor municipal drinking water system. Happily, there's been no impact on the drinking water to date so far in terms of them being beyond recommended guidelines. Ann Arbor's taking it very seriously as a potential concern as well. And we are working in concert with the company to get it under control at our end here, where we have a company that has been identified as a source. It is my opinion that there may be other sources that get identified. The city is certainly continuing to take a look at that to make sure that we identify all potential sources in our own system. But as you know, we're very heavy in the automotive sector in this whole region, and this is part of a plating process that's used in many automotive vehicles. Chrome processing is basically one of the primary uses of these chemicals. So there might be other situations that come to light in the long run as far as other areas that are also having these kind of discharge issues. They have not yet been identified to my knowledge. The other thing to point out in this PFAS class of substances or chemicals, they're part and parcel of many things that we all use on a daily basis and many things that we come in contact with on a daily basis. If you have stain-resistant carpeting, it most likely has PFAS chemicals present. If you use nonstick cookware, that most likely has PFAS chemicals present. So there's a lot of different exposures to that in our daily environment beyond the wastewater discharge as well. That's the one that's obviously concerning us because of the fact that it's coming through our plan. We will need to make sure that we take the steps necessary to get that under control. But these chemicals are used in many, many different applications in everybody's daily lives, and they have been used for decades. This is not something that's a new development. It's just that they're identifying them as contaminants only now. It's an emerging class of contaminants or pollutants right now, according to what the state and the EPA is coming up with.
Well, thanks for the update, and thanks for being on top of all of this.
Kudos to Tim Sickman, everybody that's been working on that.
Yeah, Tim, you too. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda are council comments. Mr. Kennedy.
No, Mr. Brown, thank you very much for aggressively going after the PFAS system. The water systems are very important, and I appreciate all the stuff that you and the staff are doing on that. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Smiley.
I don't have any comments tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Resnick.
All right, a couple things real quickly. One, we talked about the One-Stop Ready program, redevelopment ready communities, which we saw a presentation on tonight. But the one thing that is probably the biggest single barrier for economic development in this region is the motor transportation system, right? And I think that needs to be kept front and center, that without egress in and out of our city, widening of roads, repair of aging infrastructure, a lot of this economic development will not occur no matter how ready we are. So we got to keep the pressure on, both in Lansing and in Washington, particularly with our Beck Road corridor. The other comment I want to make was a public interest story on, a lot of people may not be aware, but during the development of the property behind the post office, Robertson Brothers came upon a willow tree that had lots of honeybees in it. And Downtown Development Authority took the advice of Tracy from our building department, and he relocated the honeybees, to his property. And they took the honey out of that willow tree and actually made jars of honey and sold them at the block party. Good stuff. And so the program is to get the schools involved, move the entire colony over to the DPW property there behind the treatment center, and that'll be a nice project for the school kids, and it's great honey. I don't know if you tasted it, but it was great. That's all I have, sir.
And local honey is the best honey to have,
Yeah.
so it doesn't get any more local than that.
Mr. Goslin.
Thank you. Similar to the redevelopment ready communities, I recall in maybe the last few issues of the review, the magazine we get from the MML, there was something similar regarding like a green city benchmark test or analysis, whereas we had the map here of how we're doing. I think that might be something to investigate in the near future as well, just to see, as we're talking about improvements to the city campuses and buildings, where we might be able to go to help improve kind of our green infrastructure around here. Then kind of shifting gears into the PFAS, I know I've been reading about having them install the carbon filter and weekly testing being a part of the mandate here. Is the hope that, I mean, with weekly testing...
It's actually monthly. We talked about weekly to begin with, shifted to monthly because the testing results don't come back for 3 to 4 weeks, so it seems silly to do the weekly testing.
So with monthly, is the goal that the carbon filter eliminates it, and then monthly testing is to show that it's still at 0, or are we using are they still putting this into the system, and then monthly testing, we want to see it be going down?
Correct. It'd be that latter one, right? It's at unacceptably high levels now. As they determine the sources of that in their internal processes in their plant, and where to place a treatment process that you referenced, which is granular activated carbon. GAC system is what would probably be looked at as a potential addressing of that issue. Once they get that system implemented, we should see the numbers drop down quickly from their wastewater sampling, and that's what the goal is, to maintain the testing to see if it rises, stays the same, drops, and then once the system is in place, it should drop.
So will that system then get us within the acceptable levels, or is it going to be a number of months until we're there?
Most likely will be a number of months before we're there, just from the standpoint of getting the system designed and getting the system implemented and getting the system operational. Once it begins operating, if it has if it does what it's supposed to do as it's designed to do, we should see a pretty quick improvement in the numbers coming from Tri-Bar. And then that would translate to our effluent, because what's happening is it's coming in at the head end, if you will, from Tri-Bar. We don't have any treatment processes in place for it, so when we discharge our effluent, it's present as well. The other thing that's working against us in our case is the size of our system. We have one source that's a relatively large operation, but our entire wastewater treatment processing is a small operation, so their percentage of our effluent is actually pretty large, and that's why we're suffering from those high numbers that we're having. Perhaps in larger systems, the theory is that it gets diluted and it's less of an issue because there's so many more gallons of other water that's being processed through the plant. For comparison's sake, we do about 2 million gallons versus the Great Lakes Water Authority doing about 600 million gallons. So this scale is working against our results as well.
What is the timeline for getting this under control, though? Because I know kind of it's been floated a denial of usage for the system, and to me, any high level is unacceptable. So how long are they going to be allowed to drag this out, or months of testing? I'd be, I guess, more of a proponent of you get it under control, then we can bring you back in.
Yeah, the issue is that the company really wasn't doing anything contrary to anything that was in place by the processes and the chemicals that they were using. As I mentioned, in 2015, The PFAS chemicals, I may have mentioned this, I'm not sure, I believe I did. The 2015 is when PFAS chemicals were basically ruled out from a regulatory standpoint. Tri-Bar has said they stopped using it at that point in time, but these chemicals can be persistent in facilities. In other words, they might become lining of the pipes that are in place or the equipment that are being used. So they have to determine where the sources of those are to make sure that they get the treatment in the right place. So they have to get it designed right to begin with, then they have to get it implemented and installed, and then operational. So there will be a period of time. And as I mentioned, it's not like Tri-Bar has done anything wrong up until this point. This is something that just recently came to light as being an issue, and we were never testing for it. Tri-Bar was never asked to test for it in the past. The city was never asked to test for it in the past. It's only now come to light through the MDEQ and the EPA that this is an issue that we need to be aware of, and now we're reacting to it, as is the company. So I want to make sure I make that clear. I don't want to demonize Tri-Bar on this. There was nothing they were doing contrary to regulations or any guidance that they had from anybody, and that's the point where shutting them down it's not the goal. What the goal is getting them into compliance as quickly as possible.
It's not demonizing them, and it's something that we haven't tested. I'm not saying that they're wrong or they're using them again, but it's something that we now have to address and address quickly, because as we continue to drag it out, it's just making matters worse.
Understood.
So that's where I'm kind of approaching it from that perspective, is this shouldn't be a 4, 5, 6 month process. This should be, you kind of have a few weeks to figure it out, or else you're done.
I believe timeframes that have been discussed is in the 6 to 8 week neighborhood for certain steps of it, and then it would hopefully be pretty quickly thereafter. I don't know for sure how that will play out, but this has occurred in other areas of the state, and the first occurrence was in a different area of the state that was over a year ago. Similar situation, a plating operation. There was no shutdown of that operation either, pursuant to interactions with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, and we're going to continue to stay in touch with MDEQ and make sure that we're taking the steps that are appropriate to deal with this problem, including potential enforcement actions against Tri-Bar if steps aren't taken quickly.
Because when you're reading about don't eat fish and enjoy the water, and it's the Great Lakes state, that's a big issue.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks. Just a couple of things. We got 5 work anniversaries this year, this time, ranging from 21 years to 1 year, but thank those people for their employment in the city and their services to us. And also looking forward to an event this weekend, seeing how I'm a beagle, but barking in the park at Gilbert Wellness Park this Sunday from 12 to 4. Thanks.
Thank you. I think as on Mr. Gottschall's comments, I think we are working quickly on this, and your report, and I mean, it's just, you told us about this kind of in a news blast just recently. I mean, this is something that's brand new. You know, I certainly want to get it done, but I'm not looking to close anybody down or anything. I want to make sure that the problem is addressed, and we do it in a positive manner. So, in any event, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Go home, everybody.